Today we'll be looking at this exercise from the Introduction to Game Theory textbook. I suggest a quick Google search on Google Scholar to find the textbook so you can follow along. It's an excellent textbook. I highly recommend reading it. Okay, so we have an action set A, B, and C, and we have our first utility set of A, B, and C, where U of A equals 0, U of B equals 1, and U of C equals 4. Well, we know that we prefer U of C the most, so that's greatest. And then we agree that U of B is second best, and then least best is U of A. So that's our story here. Okay, and you can write it either way. So you could go U of A is worst, less than U of B, less than U of C. So either way you want to write it, okay? And now the question that we're being asked is, do these other two utilities of this action set agree with our first story? So this should be the same here and here. So let's do it for V of A, V of B, and V of C. Well, V of C is the biggest, then goes V of B, and then V of A. Okay, so this is the same story here. So again, I'm just going to write it all down. V of A less than V of B less than V of C. Okay? And finally, we have W of A, W of B, W of C. And here we'll see that the story is different because WA is equal to W of B, which is 0. WC is still the greatest, but it's a different story, okay? It's a different story. The story now is WA equal to WB less than W of C, okay? So, therefore, our story from here is equal to our story from here, because player one is going to choose V of C or U of C every single time. If that's not an option, then it's going to be U of B or V of B. If that's not an option, then it'll be the worst utility, right? This is, I believe the point of this exercise is to get you in the state of mind that it doesn't necessarily matter what the number is associated with that particular utility. It matters more the difference between utilities, okay? Because these are all different numbers, okay? Less 1 compared to 0, 0 compared to 1, 2 compared to 4. They're all different. Like, U of A does not equal V of A. But in comparison with each other, it tells the exact same story. And that's what really matters. Okay? Like, you may have gotten confused. Let's make this argument. Let's say this was 1 and 4 and 0, like it is here. But let's say this is, instead of being 8, this is 5. Okay? Let's say that's 5. Someone who maybe isn't thinking in the terms of game theory might look at that 5 and think, oh, well, W, A, B, and C, pretty similar to this because, well, 1 plus 4 is 5, and, well, that's 5. Or even, let's make that 4. And maybe if you had a bit more knowledge on game theory, you'd be like, well, let's make that 4. Well, in this case, you're choosing 4 every time. And in that case, you're choosing 4, right? So let's say it looks like this, right? And then in that case, well, although you'd be wrong, you'd perhaps make the argument that these two are more similar because you're choosing WC or U of C every single time, but that's not what you're being asked. The purpose of this exercise was to teach you about how players interpret payoffs. Like, it doesn't matter how big this 2 or this 4 was, or how small these first numbers were, as long as the 4 is greater than 1 and the 1 is greater than 0. Like, this could be 4,000, and these two stories would have been the exact same, okay? This could have been negative a billion, you know? Obviously, that's stupid. That's just a really big number for no reason. But I hope you get what I mean, right? This story matters way more than the numbers. If you can tell numbers apart, if you know that 5 is higher than 4, and I pray you know how numbers work, then this should not be complicated to you at all. If you don't know how numbers work, guys, I don't know how to say this, but you shouldn't be learning game theory. And that's your answer. Your answer is utility U. The story derived from utility U is the same as utility V, but is not the same as utility W. Because in utility U and V, A is smaller than B in both cases, whereas with W, A is equal to B. Okay? Done and dusted. Thank you for watching.